Okay, so today we mostly, are going to kind of repeat the same in some sense, which means we want to go a little deeper into analysis of music. And actually, most of the class for today's time is designated for Beep, which is, I think, a fascinating film. Um, that I've uploaded. I bought and uploaded this to Canvas. I think it's available. I think on either YouTube or Vimeo. I think in Vimeo or Amazon. I don't remember. I mean, you can purchase the film, but you have this available here, uh, and it kind of gives you an overview of the history of game sound. So we will not go too much in detail about what the film is because it's really fascinating documentary. Um, and well, okay, let me figure out where is the link. It's actually good that we check because there are also individual interviews here, and it should be on the media gallery. So as we quit, I will make sure that it's posted here. Okay. But it has really amazing interviews with the top not computer, game music, of course, computer programmers, designers, um, and it kind of covers both the history and also the different aspects of technology. And I don't want to give too much out. I think if you watch this film and take some notes really for your own education about the topic, you will definitely enjoy and benefit this. I did put some questions, so there's a short quiz uh, about the film, but it actually you know, this is a free response, a quiz. And what I'm asking you is kind of to find some interesting moments in the film and express your opinion about why it was interesting for you, what the person said, just to make sure that you kind of take away something from the history of music for games, and also learn about the sequence, the reading materials, which are kind of related to the topic of music, or the history of evolution of musical games, is this chapter. Okay, the video game composition over the past 40 years. So if you have the book, or there is some kind of a preprint on the web that doesn't have the right page numbers, but I don't think it's a legal copy, so I cannot really recommend you to use this. We have the link, but the chapter 5 on video game composition is really kind of covering the history and that logic of going from the beginning simple chips and everything being programmed to trackers to sequencers to recordings, and today kind of the blend of sound design and sound effects with music effects. And I think this transition, or this idea, as you see, that the treatment of sound becomes such more general, such more open-ended. Of course, the software enables this, but also composition-wide will shift from now on. Starting next class, we'll talk about thinking about music and music for games as really this enormous palette of sounds and opportunities. You can actually have sounds which are very abstract. The sound design and so-called electroacoustic composition and spectral methods of classical composition. So a lot of experimental techniques, which we haven't really covered. That'll be our opportunity by kind of opening up the vocabulary of musical experiences to things which we have not really explored before, or we started more with a, I would say, traditional approach, conservative approach of chords and melodies and rhythms. Uh, And now we kind of open this up to very broad musical vocabulary and sound vocabulary. And that's kind of a natural thing. So kind of technology makes it so easy. But music speaking wise, conceptual artistic wise, I think this is also one point that I want you to take home from today's materials is towards the end of that film, towards the evolution of music, we'll be actually transitioning away from classical music. Um, Now, some musical analysis notes for class demonstration. Here, what I provide, uh, yeah, are some excerpts from music with the notation. And we have some questions about the musical pieces. Let me kind of briefly play you in these examples so you can kind of understand what I'm looking at in the questions. And because the idea of building a larger structure and being able to analyze music is also something that we'll have in the kind of the take-home quiz, where you will be asked kind of to notice how music phrases, um, you know, how they, when they start, when they end, how they actually repeat or evolve over time. Now, for those who are not trained in musical notation, just use this as an aid, as a visualization aid, as you listen through music. So, for instance, the Final Fantasy VII, the main theme, which should be here. Yes, okay. So let's play a short segment of this. We're still not sure. Just a second. Let's get to the point. Oh, no, not yet. Just a second. Yeah, it starts. All right. So we'll stop this. So one thing you probably noticed is that this is not exactly the same rendering. This is a piano version or piano arrangement. And so for instance, all these arpeggios that happen in the left hand were not in the original recording. So this did happen, you could hear the lower instruments kind of doing these kind of broken chords, these arpeggios. There were some extra musical lines that happened. There was a little part missing here, and then it came back. Now, what I would like you to notice is that graphically, and most of the question is really kind of just a graphical analysis, but if you can go back and kind of find and associate this with the recording, that will of course make much more sense auditorily, kind of witnessing this. You can see that we have some kind of an opening here. Actually, it had two phrases, da 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 da, and then it starts again. So again, there is a phrase, and then this phrase repeats, and something happens here. And now this is evidently, just by looking at the texture, this is one section. Now something else happens. You can see that the same melody kind of starts repeating here, but octave above. Okay, well, something else is happening in the left hand. Actually, what's going on here are pretty much the same chords, but broken, arpeggiated. So kind of what we did in the first homework, when you take chords and you arpeggiate, and this is kind of what is happening here, and to a large extent. Then now we have a new theme coming in. This is new material, and it kind of keeps on going until it reaches the point where visually you can see that the melody here, the whatever is on the top, the right hand, is exactly the same. Okay, maybe it adds some new chords, but the top melody is really the same. Okay, and goes here and here, while the left hand kind of borrows from these textures and use this combination. So these techniques of basically kind of remixing and cutting and pasting and repeating elements, composers use this in their daily practice. That's actually creates some sort of coherence to music, while always varying, creating some interesting variations. Another aspect is that usually these transitions have to be kept constant to some extent. So we want to finish a phrase, we want to finish a melody, and we'll talk about this when we talk about adaptive compositions, because if you want to jump now from here to something here, because if maybe this section corresponds to some other mood or atmosphere, you probably at least want to finish the phrase and not jump in the beginning. And of course, you need to make sure that there is some kind of a harmonic continuity. So kind of the possibility to segment and see the repetitions, but also see the juxtaposition is the task of the quiz. So I have put a couple of questions about each of these pieces and ideas of how they actually can be represented in notes. I tried to select just a few very different feelings and moods. So this is the Assassin's Creed example. Really beautiful music, so just enjoy it for the sake of the music, Okay, let me kind of pause here and kind of also point out to some structural aspects of the music, because these are kind of the questions that I was asking the quiz. So you can see that there's this very touching and very melodic and sad but also romantic melody going here, right? And then something happens here, okay? Suddenly the mood changes. You have this kind of a heartbeat. Again, in the piano arrangement, it's made by these quick arpeggios, ta-da-dum, pam, pa-da-pam, pam, pa-da-pam, pam. In the full recording, it was slightly uh, rendered differently. But here's something else I want you to notice is that actually we have this trick. Of course, this is slow and this is fast, or much more like agitated. And the tempo here is more of a heartbeat, but it's not twice as fast. So you can look at the melody and see that basically what we have here is the same melody, okay? It kind of played slower in terms of the musical notation, but because the tempo is faster, you kind of don't notice that this is really much slower melody. But here again, this example, if you repeat the same theme and you use a variation on the left hand, on the accompaniment, to achieve a very different sense of mood, while this basically kind of retells the same musical story. So if you kind of use the notation as your visual guide, and you go back and forth across these pages and maybe listen to the music and try to follow the beat, you'll be able kind of to answer the questions, because they kind of lead you to specific places in the piece. And by answering the question, you'll basically need to be kind of like going back and forth and just use your best judgment without really needing to know and understand musical notation, but kind of observing what aspects of certain bars go back and forth. So one of the really good practices in learning about music, besides actually performing it, is doing this kind of musical analysis. It kind of reveals to you the nature of musical fabric, how it's structured in time, how it's structured across layers. So this is kind of the purpose of today's class. It's really to let you um, enjoy the music, and also kind of look a little bit more critically into the different aspects of, let me just get back to the right place, of how music is structured. The last example is about rhythm. So we have the Super Mario, the rhythm study. And one amazing thing about Super Mario, and I'm sure everybody knows this, right? Let's just listen to this because it's so much fun. All right. All right. So, uh, I mean, this is also an opportunity to get a little bit more to dive into the rhythms and see how rhythms are structured. So if you read this explanation, this is one possible interpretation, and this is, how I understand the rhythmic structure, is by keeping that count. So it kind of teaches you a little bit more, kind of try to count things, and seeing that if you have like basic pattern of 8 notes, you can break it into 4 and 4, or 3 3 and plus 2, and some of these jumps, and then also triplets, which are these notations where you have 3 notes on the count of 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 3 would be 1, 2, 3. So you have 2, 1, 2. I don't know if you can hear me tapping. So it's like how 3 fall into 2. So this is another way kind of to create this kind of a, throw you a little bit away, or kind of shift the rhythm. So what I asked you to look at yourself is a little simplified version of the rhythm that I kind of wrote down. It's just the rhythmic part. So you're not confused with the pitches. And I have a few questions about you trying to understand what is the structure, okay? Ba-da, ba, ba. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Pam, 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 pam. So if you practice tapping this is just a lot too much fun. I don't expect you to do that, but follow the music, follow this rhythm, and try to see how you know how talented or how what a genius composer you know it makes this really kind of structure of kind of jumping and moving, which became this iconic Mario rhythm theme. Um, so yeah, this is pretty much it for today. As I said, some questions about the musical analysis, some questions about the rhythm, and then some questions about the film. And I hope you can, like, while you work on your second assignment, this is an opportunity kind of to look a little bit more in depth into the fabric of music, and also have this incredible review of the history and the different perspectives of sound. I'll stop my recording at this point and ask some questions, or open this to questions, not ask, but answer questions.